Instagram is in a total chaos right now, and if you're using the platform or an artist, you probably already know this. Basically, in a nutshell, in late May, Meta announced that they will be using all their posts, which are including drawings, to be used to train for their AI, and a lot of artists were like, what the heck, we didn't sign up for this. And because of this, a lot of artists have been moving to Cara, which is an alternative to Instagram. And the good thing about Cara is that not only does it filters out AI when you post, it also allows the program called Glaze, which basically disrupts any AI from really learning from your drawings. With this whole chaos going on, there have been 3 general responses I've heard from the people around me and artists. Number 1 is just people that are really against their art being trained for AI have left Instagram completely, deleted their accounts, and just moved over to Cara. Number 2 is what I've seen mostly. It's people who have both Cara and Instagram, and they haven't decided to leave Instagram yet, but they decided to give Cara a go and see how things go from there. And number 3, which is kind of in my position right now, which are burnt out artists that don't really want to start another social media platform because frankly it is a lot. Social media can get overwhelming, and I say this even as a YouTuber and someone who's been consistently posting content for around since I was 15, but even before that. Anyways, the whole Cara Instagram AI situation going on is a whole other story within itself, and if you want to know more about it, I recommend checking out these artists. But in today's video, I kind of want to step back and focus more on how is social media kind of ruining our relationship with art type of way, because I've seen just so many artists become burnout because of this whole Instagram AI thing, and the audience that they've worked so hard to grow on Instagram is now crumbling just within a few days and a few weeks, and it's really frustrating to see. So with all this social media things up in the air right now, I really want to take the time to reflect on our personal relationship with social media. I know for sure that I do not have the healthiest relationship with social media, though I like to have. And that's kind of why I'm making this video as well, because by the end of this video, I hope more people really take the time to reflect, oh, what is Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. What are they really doing to my art? Has it helped with my art journey, my career? Or on the other hand, is it subconsciously hindering my growth as an artist? Hi everyone, my name is Veda, also known as Saku or sakuraopal here on the internet, and today, this video was actually really impromptu. I had a whole list of videos I wanted to make this summer, and this wasn't really one of them because I planned this way before Meta announced this stuff. But I really think it's a topic that needs to be talked about, and I'll be sharing my personal experiences with social media as well. So hopefully we can all kind of reflect and grow together in this video. Sounds good. Yeah. So first, let's talk about the pros of social media as an artist, because there are a lot. You know those videos that are like, oh, I stopped using social media for a year and this is how my life turned out, and they're like really happy touching grass. Yeah, I wish I could be like that, but at the same time, I kind of have to be on social media in some shape or form because we're artists and we need to get our name out there. We want people to look at our work, and it's also a really good way to get a lot of cool opportunities. Like for example, my YouTube, I've gotten a lot of sponsorships or working with brands that I've been using for the longest time, or in general, just being able to reach you guys, like people so far away, like all around the world, like making content that can hopefully inspire you guys. And when you guys send all the meaningful messages, like that's really my favorite part. But at the same time, I wish we weren't so dependent on social media. I think one of the biggest benefits of social media as artists is the sense of community. I know there are so many online community of artists out there. Like for example, there's my Saku Discord, which are like the sweetest people ever, but obviously there are many out there that kind of help you, encourage you to grow as artists. Although that's more like Discord side of things, but I've seen those on Instagram as well, and I think that really helps your growth and keeps you constantly inspired because everyone's drawing and everyone's creating as well. Yeah, so I think those are the really big main benefits of social media. But now let's go on and talk about some not so good things about social media, and I have a lot of experience in this. I actually that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I can't sleep at night. My insomnia is getting better, but it's there are times where I just cannot sleep because I'm so worried about my video not performing well, or my drawings, and really thinking what really is the point of me putting so much effort into these platforms if sometimes the algorithm doesn't really favor me, and why do I have such a bad subscriber to viewing ratio? I've tried my best, but why is that the case? There's so many of these thoughts in my head at night, which are not the best, I admit, and I'm trying to change that as well. But it's this constant fear that kind of ingrains you when you start to try to build your account, build an audience on social media. And I think one of the first things is the anxiety. I think everyone can relate when you're oh, I haven't posted in so long, and you want to go oh, I need to post, but at that point, are we really drawing for ourselves anymore? Especially if you're doing art more of your own enjoyment, less so for your career, which can also be related. But are you really drawing for the sake of drawing something you want, or are you really drawing just to grow your audience? And I think that is one of the biggest things social media is kind of hindering us as the growth as an artist, because Instagram, for example, favors a lot of art styles. Not a lot, just the two beautiful girls type of art style. You know what I'm talking about. But because of that, I feel a lot of people maybe subconsciously draw in that art style instead of really figuring out what art style they want to do, because that's what's favored by the algorithm. And another thing about social media, I think, when I, for example, post a drawing, and before I posted, I was quite satisfied or happy with it, but after I posted, there was not a lot of engagement. No one's really commenting, and the like count is lower than usual. I kind of go oh, so is it not as good as I think it is? Or, oh, okay, I guess my drawing's not good. But before I posted it, it was perfectly fine. I was perfectly fine with it. So I think that's another example of how social media is warping our perception of what's really a good or bad art based on the numbers, or which artist is good based on their clout, which is really sad, because I feel that hinders our growth as artists, and that really takes out a lot of the authenticity and the passion and the genuine excitement of why we like drawing in the first place. And now it's all obscured by numbers and needing to grow our accounts. Another thing about social media is the constant subconscious comparison. For example, when I scroll my feed, I feel just looking at it, I feel I get more negative emotions than positive ones, because they're just always comparing, and I feel this is kind of an insecurity issue as well. But it's I feel going on social media kind of just escalates that amount of insecurity you have towards your own art. I'm getting better at it, and it's honestly a tough process. For example, I'm very insecure about my numbers, especially when it comes to YouTube, because I don't know why, my ratio is just really bad. And it's been the longest time my biggest insecurity in terms of YouTube, I guess. And I think when I see smaller YouTubers but have a bigger view count than me, I'm oh, why? What did I do wrong? Why? And stuff like that, instead of really thinking it's not actually the content itself too. It could be a lot of factors, especially the algorithm just doing its own weird thing and stuff like that. A lot of it is not the quality of the content itself. It's, for example, who is free to watch your content when it was first published, and also just the algorithm being silly. It's always silly. So yeah, that's another thing, is the constant comparison. Yeah, so I think those are really the main things. A lot of people are posting now are art for the sake of posting, not really for the sake of drawing for themselves. And with a lot of kids now being brought up on social media, like I started social media when I was like 13, 12, 11 youngest, but before that I really did not use social media. But I've seen comments that they're like, oh, I'm 6 years old, and people that are super young that are exposed to a lot of social media already. And I feel like because of that, they were brought up like in that pivotal age where you were brought up to like learn about the world, and you're seeing how social media, like a lot of people define success of numbers, and it kind of gets to your head. But really, we should make drawings that are meaningful to us. I sound like I'm preaching, but I feel like it's way more meaningful when I make a drawing to, for example, I give a drawing to my friend and they're really happy about the drawing and they're really touched that I drew their favorite anime character for them, and that's way more meaningful in my opinion than like getting like 10,000 likes but not a single comment or any actual like human interaction through a drawing. Because I feel like drawing can really bring people together, right? It's a lot of people, it's just happy when everyone's doing an art form together, right? So I feel like social media is taking away from all of that, especially like just being so isolated from your actual self when you are kind of in like an internet persona mode. So that's another thing. Yeah, so now that we talked about the pros and cons of social media as an artist and how on one hand it can really boost your career, but on the other hand it can kind of really make you feel bad about your art and kind of stunt your growth just because of the nature of you wanting to grow your numbers, and that might not actually be how you're growing as an artist or learning new things. So let's talk about how I personally deal with having a better relationship with social media as an artist, and especially as someone who is kind of dependent on social media in a sense for her career, which is so scary to think about. But firstly, this is a more practical tip, is on Instagram you can disable all the number counts, not just for your own posts, like I know a lot of people know that already, but you can disable from seeing everyone's posts, and the only number you can see is people's follower count. But I don't really necessarily click into people's profiles often, so it's just like artwork and no numbers, which is really good for me, and that also helps me like really separate like, oh, this is the artwork, and looking at the drawing by itself rather than associating with like the like count on the bottom, which is really good. And that's like my main tip to give in terms of practical. For a more like mental tip, I think the biggest thing is realizing why I like drawing in the first place. Like, is it when you bring your characters to life through drawing and what's in your head can be actually visualized, or is it like seeing your improvement throughout time? I think there are a lot of other reasons why we started drawing in the first place, not chasing the clout, not using it as a career, although you might go into that in the future. But the main reason why we're drawing is, I can't give an example because we all need to search for our own reasons. But yeah, that is one thing that has kind of kept me sane and kept me from drawing for myself. And obviously I do have art as a career, so sometimes I do have to make it like a drawing for more social media things once in a while. But I feel like, especially when you're still young and you're just doing this thing for fun, we should focus on actually having fun instead of focusing on the cloud social media side of things. This is not a tip, but just like general sharing. I just want to share that I used to, or I still do, but not as much. I used to just scroll, refresh for example, if I just posted a drawing, I would keep refreshing and seeing who liked it, who would comment. And it gave me a lot of anxiety in a way, because it's like, oh, who's gonna comment? Like, do you think like this drawing is good enough so people are gonna comment on it and things like that? But at the same time, like, as I said, we should enjoy the process more. So if you think the process is fun, it's already like a successful drawing. You should focus more on the numbers. And I feel like this should be said more, because yes, I know numbers can be important, but it's also not the end all be all. A lot of artists that I look up to, a lot of people, like my teachers, for example, they don't necessarily have the biggest clout on social media, but they're amazing artists and they're doing so many meaningful things by teaching and bestowing their knowledge to the younger generation. And I think that's really cool too. So there are so many ways to like grow your art other than social media, and I hope this video can serve as a reminder. And now, since we're kind of reaching the end of this video, I hope that you guys can think about why you're drawing, why you're posting in the first place. I know it's hard, especially if you've grown like your art and your account on Instagram and now people are leaving Instagram. It's frustrating, I know, but really at the end of all things, you should do things for yourself. Don't do it for social media. And yeah, that's the end of this video. Thank you for listening to me yap. This is like the first time I did a very impromptu yap. I have other yapping videos, and I'm actually gonna make a playlist called Saku yapping because I feel like that is the most suitable title for that. But yeah, so if you're interested, go check it out. I also wanted to plug at the end of every video, yes I will, but I have an online store. I sell a lot of original prints and stationery and a lot of cool designs, apparel, just everything, and I design them with a lot of love and care. And I recently made an animation film, and I made an art book and a little keychain for that film. It's all up on my store. The pre-order ends in July, so that's a month from posting this almost. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope everyone stays safe and comfy on the internet. I know starting a new journey or starting a new social media page might be daunting, but we got this. And yes, I did make a car account, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna post it myself because like YouTube and Instagram is already a lot for me. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Bye bye.